Thank you for everyone for coming. For those who don't know, my name is Jay Delisio. I am the acting mayor. I will ask the vice chair if you could please establish the quorum.
Okay, so looking around the room, I see that we have Jason Parento, Jackie Romanicki, Jerry Freecott, Kate Campbell, Terry DeSisto, Ed Stanton, Jeremy Gay, Andrew Acosta, Gail Clark, myself, and the acting mayor. That gives us a quorum.
Excellent. I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from January 18th.
Move to approve the minutes with an amendment of the, up at the top of the chair.
The same one, yeah.
Got that one?
As amended, yes.
And that's in tonight's agenda, too.
Second.
I couldn't let you think about leaving without doing that to you, Jeremy.
This is like a throwback to the ARA days, Jackie.
Oh, I do it
love
to him constantly.
It's awesome. All right, any comment on the motion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes, thank you. Steve Johnson with us?
Steve Johnson's right
Yeah.
there.
Steve, how are
Rachel
you,
Flynn
sir?
is next
All
to
right,
him.
I'm still learning. You look different in person than on Zoom. So we'll recognize Steve for a construction update, so thank you.
Yeah,
Yep.
Rachel's actually going to do that for us.
Yep, if I can turn everyone's attention to this screen, sorry for the way.
Rachel, keep your voice up, please.
Yes, yep. So the big push this month was finishing or wrapping up the maintenance edition. So as you can see, we've painted, we've sealed the floors. The only thing that we really have to do is tie in the fire alarm system and do some commissioning, which is happening next week over break. And then we'll have, Jason will be able to move in and do the FF&E shelving.
Very exciting.
We also started the L building, which is a little hard to see, but, so that's the outbuilding right there. We placed the foundations. We're working on the underground right now. And then the mason will be starting their work next week.
And that's for the well?
Yeah, so the irrigation pump is, and the control panel is housed in there.
And while
For
you're there,
irrigation system.
the tennis courts and the bushy lot will be where on that?
So you're looking, tennis courts are right around here, and then the bushy lot is kind of where, it's close to where it was in the existing. And then you can see we've done started moving some dirt around to do some subgrading for the parking lots and the fields, which is great, because it's been so warm, so we've started to get a head start on that. We continue to work on some punch list items, and we have a long list of things that we're knocking out next week while the kids are out.
Want to give us a preview of the types of things that are going on next
Sure.
week?
We are installing some utility trusses in the science rooms. We are doing some minor punch list items, finishing some of the wireless access points, some of the, what else? Some of the minor commissioning items as well.
Installing the kilns,
Installing the kilns, yep.
fixing the lights in the stairways.
We are fixing the lights in the stairways, yep, getting new LED boards for that. Auditorium, yep, raising the auditorium railings and some of the balcony areas as well. Adding the mailboxes in the main office.
And I don't know if it's appropriate to talk about it now, but there is one thing we're considering with regard to the maintenance addition, which is some fencing. Do you want to maybe zoom in and give us a little preview of that issue?
Yep. So, I don't know, Craig, do you want me to bring out?
I emailed you the pictures.
Yep, I have them right here. Bring them up.
So, little history, when we did the maintenance edition back in the day, it was, if you remember, it was a smaller addition and it had a small fenced-in area as part of it. When we got when Consigli was working on doing the buyout, the pricing came back better than anticipated, and we actually made the maintenance addition bigger, which then took out the fencing area as part of doing it. But in discussions, because the maintenance addition is complete now, and understanding is that a fenced-in area for storage of some stuff, I'll let kind of Jason speak to it, would be something that would be very beneficial for them. As far as places to securely store equipment, there's security cameras on the side of the building that can look out over that yard area as well. And so what was discussed is basically a roughly 40 by 50 foot area that you see here is the stockade fence, which is similar to the other fencing that is a privacy fence on the site. And so you can see just to the right of that tree is the maintenance addition and then automotive. And then to the left of the tree is that fenced in area. So this would be a view where you can see the new fields will be on the left, and going down the bus loop that currently exists now, and kind of what you would see as far as the view and the sight lines of that area. And then I sent a second image looking back.
Entering from Attleboro.
Yep, that would be coming down from Rathbun Willard and then looking the other direction. This would be now basically just to on the drive next to where the PV panels are now in that parking area. And so on the left, you see the overhead doors going into automotive with the maintenance addition. And then again, there's the stockade fence with a 15-foot gate on it so that they can easily go in and out. And then what we're talking about doing is then paving the inside of that area. And I'll let Jason kind of talk to it a little bit more if you have anything you want to add to it.
Sure. For us, we thought it was important to keep that area, primarily because we've got a couple of plow blades that we're using that if we were to try to park inside the actual maintenance building, we'd lose a lot of that space. We also have a full-size trailer. Our plan would be to keep that there, and other snow removal equipment that generally gets just parked in a parking space over the winter, we would also put it in that space. So very effective and useful for
It's like
us.
the Bobcat that's sitting in front right now.
You noticed that?
Yeah, that part next to it. I knew no one would open the door.
Yes,
and be on
that would be
side.
out of the way.
Is that the city's machine or is that a rental?
No, that's actually one of our snow removal vendors, parking lot. And we keep it on site just because we need them to respond quickly.
And so if I understand things correctly from this morning's meeting, the idea is to price this up and determine if it's something that we can afford. I don't think anybody doubts the need, but obviously we have to pay attention to finances.
Of course.
And once it's priced up, then we can consider it at this committee.
Craig, are you talking a motorized gate on that or a hand operated?
It would probably just be a manual gate.
A swing gate or a roll gate?
That was something we talked about. I think it makes the most sense to be a roll gate, just because of the way they're doing that. We get the room to slide to 15 feet. Just, it'll hold up better based on their use and everything than being a big swing gate at 15 feet.
Yeah, they don't hold up.
Yeah, I would think a 15-foot swing gate would easily get out of kilter, wouldn't it? Hanging on the.
It would just, the wear and tear on it wouldn't hold up as well for that size of a gate, yeah.
And it would also would take away your effective use in the inside because it would swing in and block a lot of area, right?
Absolutely.
So I think this is something that's desirable, but as always, we have to pay attention to finances.
You want to keep the floor and talk the lights in the back?
I think when we get to you talk about the
Yeah,
lights.
they added lights back here.
I think when we get to that portion of the meeting, we can talk about it then.
Okay.
Is it on there?
It was now, but that's okay.
Okay. I don't have the meeting packet in front of me, but what was been brought up is in that where we're looking right now in that back area. I don't know if you have the other one that sits above the bus loop that looks back the other direction, Rachel.
Yeah. No, I didn't. Got it. I think it's this one, yeah.
Yeah. So what's happening when we design this, and that is we put some exits, emergency exits coming out of the locker rooms, right where Rachel's mouse is, right up there, yep. And what we're finding, and now that people are in the building, is that students are leaving the building and they're actually walking out to Rathbun Willard Drive, and parents are picking up right along that area, which was never part of the plan, we could say. And so what's been communicated to us is that that area wasn't designed as a pickup and drop off area. and so it's not very well lit, especially at night. Well, you want it lit at night, that's kind of rhetorical, but it's been a long day. So in doing that, we also noted that in the discussions with the district and the school is, so that whole path is if kids are coming out of the locker room area to get picked up, that they're coming out and they're gonna either walk to the bus loop or the student parking lot or to that. So we put together a package to do some site pedestrian poles along there. I think there was 4 of them. The challenge is that there isn't any there really isn't any site lighting along that area. So that it's really the cost to bring electrical to that area. There's really two ways that we could do it when we were looking at it, would be coming off of the site pole over there and going under the road with it, and then having to go under the sidewalk a couple times. And because the challenge is, as we know, is to the left of the loop there, underground, only a couple feet under the ground, there are retention basins. So instead of having the old retention ponds like we'd think, they're all buried underground. So we can't put foundations in for light poles there. So we have to put them on the building side of that sidewalk. So they're gonna have to sleeve under each of those to put the poles in. And so to put the 4 lights in. The other alternative that we looked at, and it was basically the same price, was coming off of the plaza lights there. And because then they'd have to rip up part of the plaza to pull up the conduit and the electrical through. So either way, we vetted a bunch of options, and the pricing is fair based on the scope, but it is a lot of scope, which is why I'm explaining it that way. So I don't know what the exact number was for that, but
It's 157,000 all in for the lights and all the electrical,
And
all
so-
the site work.
so it's a lot of it is the site work. Most of the cost is the site work. It's when you think about lights, you don't think about the cost. But like I said, it's crossing a street, going under that, trenching everything, and then backfilling it, and then planting the grass again. So a majority of that cost was like 100,000 of it is actually the site work, just to get to run the electrical through there. It's the actual electrical lighting is not the expensive part of it. We looked at and discussed alternatives of lighting from the building. The challenge that exists there is you want it for any type of night lighting, especially for safety and security, you want it up high, lighting down on people so you're not silhouetting them. And the roof over near that locker room isn't a very tall roof, as you can tell, so any light that we try to flood and shine out would basically do the exact opposite. It may lighting the area, but it wouldn't be creating a safe environment. And then even lighting along the front of the gym. The whole gym is all CMU backup wall, so to put any lights there, we'd have to have, we could put them, but then we'd have to have exposed conduit to actually put the lights in, because we can't run it through a concrete wall at this point.
So we couldn't put wall packs on the gym then, that's what you're saying?
You could, but you would see all the you'd have to expose all the conduit to do it.
Not desirable in a new construction.
So this is, I understand the safety need, but this is a very expensive item.
Yeah.
Is there any way to install a tall pole somewhere to get the height that you would need?
Still on the building?
Yeah, on the building or the roof?
Yeah, we talked about that. I mean, we could put it on a mast light of some sort off the building on the front, I mean, near the locker room area to get up, because when we looked at it, you could put a floodlight on the locker room area, but you'd have to have a pole to get up. You want to get up around 20 feet, is what that, so that we'd have to have basically a 6-foot pole that comes up off of the roof to put a light on, and then 20 feet would then again, would be, placing it one for the gym or 2 for the gym, you'd have to expose the conduit to do it.
Could you put the poles inside the chiller pits?
It's not a matter of, it's either mounting it on the the more cost effective route is putting it on the building. we still have to run the wiring, because when we talk about it, because as I mentioned, like 100,000 of that is just the site work to trench and all that, so it's getting the actual electrical circuit to wire the lights. And so that's really the challenge that's come before us.
Anything tall also would need a concrete foundation, most likely.
Like me.
Just digging all that out.
So we being KBA, Consigli, and Skanska have analyzed this many different ways of can we bring the wiring from here, can we do this, can we do that, and ultimately the kind of the options we put forth as far as the cost that's here tonight is to do the site lighting, not building mounted lighting. We haven't priced out the building mounted lighting, just because we have, at this point, we wanted to see what the committee felt about that versus, again, more the exposed conduit than anything, or putting a post mounted light on top of the roof.
How about putting a tall post-mounted light in the fenced-in area where the chillers are, something like they use in a shopping plaza?
It's still a matter of getting the electrical there, though. That's the thing.
If you just had one pole there, though, would it do the trick in terms of lighting up the area for the exit?
You could do one that, yeah, I mean, we could do one and put it just right there, but what we have is we're doing 3 additional ones that are along the front, as I mentioned, so if kids coming out of the locker room going to the student parking lot as well. Because they're going both, if they're getting, and you could probably correct me a little bit, but if they're either getting picked up at Rathbun or they're going across that walkway to because the kids will be parking over in the student parking lot, so they're going both ways.
And if I understand you correctly, we can't put it to the left of the concrete walkway because of the underground drainage structures, so it has to go to the right.
Yep. It would have been a lot easier if we could have gone to the left.
How about solar-powered battery backup lighting that would come on as you need it?
I mean, that's something you can do. You're at the mercy of batteries with that. I don't know. I mean, traditionally, when we're talking safety and security lighting, in our, especially with,
Would you be able to get the amount of candle power that you need?
I don't know.
We could ask, we don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
You
We've
don't
never
know?
done it. We traditionally won't rely on solar power for safety and security lighting, so.
I've got another question regarding so lighting's needed because that area is being used as a pickup and drop off, which I've seen myself. It's unforeseen, but that's the way people are using it. If you go the way, you're gonna have to put in $150,000 for lighting. Has there been any conversation about maybe installing areas to pull off, so you're not sitting on the roadway, picking up and dropping off, so you've got a way to, it seems like it clogs up because people park on both sides of the roadway.
It's
And
a
then
city
cars-
street, so we'd have to discuss with the municipal council on that, I think. That would be outside of our jurisdiction.
I didn't know if it's gonna be an issue down the road, do we take care of it now, or is it acceptable the way it's being used and,
Well, I think that when people park across the street, the danger, of course, is the kids now cross the street to get to the parents. You don't want that. The initial thought was that when kids come out of the locker room after end of the school day or whatever they were doing for football or something, that they would go over to the parking lot, which is just off the bottom of the screen where everyone else parks, and that's where they get picked up. There wasn't any intention that on an active roadway that people would be stopping in a roadway to
right, what I'm saying
pick
is that
them up.
it wasn't planned, but they are using it. So is there a way to either put an end to it and make it so it's not used in that manner? Or would you want to correct it and make it more,
Well, I think that if you rebuild, you'd have to rebuild the sidewalk and the curb and then repave the road and I think they might be able to tell us that that would cost more than the $157,000.
Yeah, I'm
Well, I think he's,
assuming it would, but is
in
it a-
addition to, I think he's questioning is, should that, I mean, the answer is yes, probably something could be done.
Yeah.
The challenges that we have is you have the electrical poles you could see just to the left of the car. Those are kind of a constraint, because that pole is where the power for the building comes from,
They're not
actually.
our poles, they're
And
anchored light poles.
so moving those would be quite challenging. The other part is that it's a city street, so that would require permitting, going through all that. And it ultimately would be a decision that would have to come through the municipal council, but
So
I
would
don't
you
think
want
we
to
have the
change
authority.
people's habits and make it so that they're not going there?
You could sign it and say, no stopping, please,
No,
Please.
I'm asking.
you know, I mean,
Well, I think the bottom line is that people will do whatever they want to do to pick up their kids, and we're not going to have a police officer out there, right?
I mean, the other thing that is people, even though that there is a curb there, people are actually driving up onto that area even, which one wouldn't expect as to be a normal thing either, to jump a curb, to pull up there, so.
So, are we,
we can review with our engineer to see if Ed's suggestion of solar-powered stuff would be something that could work. It is on the south side of the building, but we'd have to see what that would require to be able to provide the lumens that you'd need to light that walkway.
It's worth looking into. It's worth looking into.
Well, that's what I'm saying, I've just sent an email, and we can ask our engineer tomorrow when he's in the office what he thinks.
There's nothing
Okay.
time sensitive for you guys for this, correct?
We're
No,
here.
no.
so each pole would have a little solar panel on it? That would-
It's something like that, yeah.
And a battery.
If it's a pole, or if it's, like Ed said, mounted on the building, it could be something like that. It's just a question of how big the panel needs to be to power the light, and then, of course, if it snows, you might lose that
What type of
ability.
poles were for the 150 range? Was it more of an aesthetic?
The cost really wasn't in the poles, it was purely the site labor was.
But is it something that goes in line with everything else? that's on?
Yeah, it's in the same family as all the other light poles, it's just a pedestrian one instead of a parking light.
The other thing we can do is if we stay with the current design, right now, the site subcontractor has it priced as a lump sum, and we can go time and materials with them, and there's a chance we could save some money there. Well, my guess is they are a little cautious with their pricing, because they're working in and around all finished material, and they're gonna be, it's slow, non-production work. So there is a chance that T&M will make it a little cheaper. Is it gonna knock $100,000 off? No, but it could be a little less.
And I guess from the school administration's standpoint, you consider this a safety issue and you would like us to address it?
I think we should probably explore it. I think Mark Hool had more of a conversation with Mark Furtado about it. Yeah, safety is always our priority. So I don't think that that was the intent, but it seems that that is the pattern of where students are leaving.
I'm just, as Craig mentioned, the two light poles there that are N-Grid light poles are problematic to move. You know what we went through with N-Grid through the course of the project, trying to get them to put light poles in and different things. And you can see that after that second light pole, there just isn't a lot of space to pull off between that and the cooling tower fence. Maybe enough for one or two cars at the most. And that probably wouldn't be enough, and you'd still wind up with people parking on the street.
Could Ingrid install lights on the poles, on the
You wanna answer
utility
that?
poles?
2025 maybe?
How much time do you have?
It's pulling.
N-Grid is a sovereign nation among us.
I understand.
Craig, is the apprehension to building mounted lights the nature of the light, like the flooding silhouetting issue, or is the apprehension because of exposed conduit?
I think that you're gonna get a better situation, because the flooding does cause silhouetting. There's, no matter how, instead of doing direct lighting down, we're pushing light out. So you're gonna get that, but you're gonna, it's more of just whether you'd be okay with it's you're gonna get a better solution, but you're gonna pay more for it, is the honesty. But yes, there is the concern about whether you wanna have exposed conduit for the, that flood mounted light more in the gym than anything.
Jack, I think this conversation has been helpful. I think the school department has to go back and have some serious conversations about what our full range of options are. I mean, to consider spending $150,000 to encourage behavior that wasn't designed and might not be safe, might not be our best option. We have to figure this out one way or the other, so perhaps we have to come back to that. But it seems like we need to go back to the drawing board and talk about other options as well.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably for a limited time of the year, right? Because when it gets dark at 4:30, the kids are coming out. Certainly in the summertime, even if there were activities going on, it stays late till 9 o'clock at night, right? So we're really talking about a few months, but it's also a few months when there might be ice and snow in the ground. But Dave, I understand what you're saying, and I guess we can have the architects look at what additional options there may be, but I think we probably need some guidance from the school department as to, if there's any alternatives.
Yeah, I mean, so we understand the parameters, and we'll have a more in-depth discussion about the full range of possible solutions.
Because we are getting tight on money. I'm sure Antoinette's going to tell us where our money is in a few minutes, but I can see Mary Ann smiling on the screen.
It's always tight on money.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have those funds available to some other problems than to, again, encourage people to add to an unsafe situation in the street. So we're going to look at some other options.
Yeah, I would actually agree with that. I think as a parent who picks his son up after track meet, it's really, you have parents on both sides, and it is dark. So I know would be one who could be reconditioned, my behaviors can change, but I think that there's value in that, and especially when we look at $157,000, I'm sure it can be spent somewhere else, as opposed to encouraging behavior where there are no parking signs. That, it was a pretty tumultuous conversation a few months ago.
Yep.
Where are you going next, to the changelog?
Yep.
Rachel or Steve?
Yep. So we'll start with change order 29. We're seeking approval of change order 29. There are 7 GCRs. GCR 184 is a credit for attic stock related to ceiling tile. So we cut that in half, and that ends up as a credit, $27,302.82. GCR 203, furniture change revisions. So that was at the house offices. The cost on our side of the fence was for data and power. We had to disconnect so that they could add the furniture and then reconnect. That is $3,231.72. GCR 204, added security camera at door F12. So that's kind of where we were looking at the maintenance addition there, just outside there where the other stockade, the existing stockade fence is, adding a camera right out there at that door. $6,294.76. GCR 205, band and chorus microphones. So when they tested those out, there was some interference, so this adds a mixer to help with that problem. That is $3,623.08. GCR 208, added site lighting pole. So this is a new site light at the corner of the bus loop and Rathman Road, right there, right near our trailers. Again, it's another dark spot that Kate had brought up. So that is $17,469.22.
So just to, even as you could see the example of when we don't have to do a lot of site work, because we could just tag on to another one. And originally, the reason that there isn't a light there is because the light trespass, but from a lead standpoint, we can move past that and we can put a light there, and even to the standpoint of, because kids are constantly crossing at that crosswalk right at the front of the building, I think that's one that we would definitely recommend.
And the existing cove is too far away to light that. It didn't show up on our lighting study.
Sorry to interrupt, Steve.
That's right.
GCR 209, data at Culinary Cooks counter. So there's some drops for their point of sale system, $4,098.96. And then GCR 211, miscellaneous security revisions. A lot of this was hardware to add card readers at the marketplace on the opposite side of the door, so card readers on both sides of the doors now for security purposes. So that is $22,706.29. Total, including the credit, $30,121.21. As always, these have been fully vetted by Consigli, Skanska, KBA, and their consultants.
Is there a motion to approve the change orders?
Move to approve. Second.
Thank you. Motion's in order. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes. I will now call on Mary Ann.
Well, just ask him if
I was just
there's
fooling.
any new items to add to the change log.
We
to
do.
Give us a preview of.
Yeah.
Well done.
So there's 4 that are new since last month. Again, not finalized yet. 212 is drainage at concession and scoreboards. So this is work that's outside our current limit of the work, but as we've completed our work, there's some potential drainage issues that the architect is looking at the back of the school. So it's roughly $27,000 that we're holding for that. 213, CR 213, crosswalk revisions at Brennan. So this would be a credit, changing some of the crosswalks that have pavers on the top to just asphalt. So we removed the pavers there, so that would make that cheaper. So we've plugged in a credit of $2,000 for now. CR 214, added power at welding booths. This was an owner request to help so that there's no cords in the way and a potential tripping hazard. So that's roughly $7,500. And then CR 215, added demand response programming. So this is the commissioning agent brought this up as it's a good idea for when the utility company comes to the school and wants them to reduce the power usage. This is a programming thing, so Jason can go into the BMS and do it on the laptop as opposed to manually having to do a lot of extra work. So that's roughly $5,400. Again, those aren't finalized just yet, they're just on our radar right now. And then we have 2 potential contingency items. GCT 79 is auditorium seat revisions. So this was some coordination between the different types of drawings, architectural, structural, and then the shop drawings, and we ended up putting some things in the wrong spot. And it's one of the things that we're going to be working on next week to fix some of the seat locations and some electrical. So that's roughly $19,000. And then GCT 80 bus loop wall revisions. So there was a detail that wasn't constructed 100% correctly out in the field, so we had to cut back the walls at the bus loop because it was a potential safety hazard because it stuck out too much. So that is roughly $3,500. So nothing to approve this month, just items that are being priced up. Okay. And that is it.
All right, we'll now go to Mary Ann Williams. And is Ian Jeanette with us?
Yes.
Floor is yours, Mary Ann.
Ian Jeanette? Okay.
There it is. Can't hear you, Anjanette.
I can't get my screen to expand without my other screen. Just hold on one second, sorry. Okay. All right, can you see it now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, and you can hear me, okay. So So this is the summary of the expenses for the month of January. Scanska to the OPM services, we submitted an invoice for $139,718. That brings us to about 81% of our contract. Castle Blues submitted an invoice for $111,285. $109,000 of that was for their construction administration costs, and then there was another, I believe, $2,200 for Semiotis, one of their consultants, and then Consigli submitted their invoice for the construction management services. For the contract work, it was a total of $1,199,339. There were 3 change orders that were billed against this past month, 26, 27, and 28. And their total invoice for change orders and the contract work, $1,250,596.19. In addition to their change order and regular contract work billing, they did also bill for retainages for the subcontractors that are listed below here. All of the retainage reductions had previously been approved by this group here, the school building committee, and it has been reviewed and vetted by Skanska and KBA as well. And most of these, and Steve, you can correct me if I misspeak here, but most of these are bringing the subs down to either a $0 retainage, $0 retainage, or the value of whatever their punch list items are, and I believe Arden is down to 1%, as well as Griffin. So there's still a little bit of work to be done, but it's, mostly, like I said, punch lists. There's some change order work that has to be done. So at the end of the day, with the when they calculate the retainages that are being reduced and paid out with this requisition and the contract work, the amount certified by Consigli would be the $1,924,045.11. Additionally, this month we had a bill for testing services. That's Briggs. We have them still on site doing soil testing. We have them doing some work out at the maintenance edition as well, part of their scope of work. And then we had some furniture costs come in, and those are detailed on the meeting minutes here. That's for Robert Lord and I'm trying to think of that, but there's the 2 furniture vendors that KBA had been managing, and then there were 2 invoices received from from Pro AV, which is the AV IT contract, and that is Scott Goodrich, is another one of KBA's consultants. So when these invoices come in, KBA through either Casey, who does the furniture, or Scott Goodrich, they review and make sure that anything that's been billed has been installed, it's been back punched, and it's in place. And then we, add it to our list for a recommendation for payment. So the total amount invoiced for the month would be $2,474,903. And it does, if you look at your meeting minutes, it's off by $50,111, and that would be on the meeting notes. There is an invoice for NextGen for that to be paid. We talked about that last month. I included it in my values last month as that's when I had received it, and just from an accounting purpose, I was able to process it then. But at the end of the day, we are 93% billed with the project. We have about $17 million left to go overall, and we're getting close, but I think we're right on budget and we're doing very well. So I'm not sure if anybody has any questions about any of the values.
Any questions? Doesn't seem to be any questions. Do you have any?
Just
one question.
I apologize, Scott. So just to confirm, like for our vote, we're including the next gen balance.
Yeah, so last month, so Anjanette included it in her values last month.
Right.
At this meeting, we approved a not to exceed value. We
Right.
have a purchase order for it, and we're going to be paying it as soon as
Yeah, now-
possible. So I included it here because there wasn't specifically voted on this invoice.
Right, right, and now we have the actual number.
Yep.
Thank you.
So the total we'll be paying will be 2,525,014.21?
Correct.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay. Ask for a motion to approve the bills.
I'd ask for a motion to approve the bills.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? Motion's in order? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you.
See if
Craig.
anybody has anything to add, or Craig has anything to add.
Mary Ann and Anjanette, you have anything else to add? Okay. Thank you.
No, just we're pleased how the project's trending, where we continue to remain within budget and having 17 million left of work to put in place out of the approximately $60 million project. This is a very good place to be in.
Thank you. I know, right? Craig and Joe, anything you want to add?
I don't have anything.
Okay. Jeremy? Anything?
Jeremy is leaving us after almost 3 years. And at the risk of embarrassing him, I want to say that he has done an outstanding job in guiding all of the capital projects, and especially this enormous capital project. And so, Jeremy, thank you for your service.
Thanks, everyone. I won't take too much time, but I really appreciate the involvement of this committee with this project. It's the biggest, the most transformative project the city's undertaken, and the level of care and attention that this volunteer committee has shown to this project has been great to be a part of. So thank you all for your time and attention.
Thank you, Jeremy. We certainly wish you all the best. Our loss is the Bristol County Sheriff's gain for sure.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Anybody have anything else they want to bring up?
Just one quick question, maybe it was covered already, I was off looking for a Chromebook or a child. When we come down the bus loop, there is a very noticeable bump that takes place. Is there a way to at least get a sign or something out there? Because like when it's dark, I was here for the basketball game last night, cars are bottoming out, and that could be problematic for us.
It means it's working.
I don't want the cars to go speedwaying, but
Yeah.
Teaching moment.
it's definitely, I've had people ask me to ask that question here, so as I have constituents, I am asking the question, could there be a sign that says bump or something?
There will be a speed table there in the final process. Is this just a temporary
Yes.
Measure
Yes.
to
Yeah.
until the speed table is installed with the
Correct.
sign?
Which
to
would
prevent
be-
drag
Show
races?
that, yeah.
Yes, okay.
But, I mean, we can get a temp sign if.
Is it better to like paint it yellow or something?
I'm just stating what I've been asked by both fellow school committee members and constituents in the community.
Maybe a temp sign, Joe, because, even if you paint it, if it snows,
Yeah,
no one's going to see it, so it
Yeah.
would seem like a temp sign would be in order, wouldn't it? And then that, just one thing we did leave out, but just a preview, Steve or Rachel, of what's going to be happening this summer?
Yep, so what Joe just described, we have to final pave everywhere that's currently has received binder, so all the parking lots get a final coat. We're gonna be doing the work at the Rotary. That's gonna actually become a Rotary. There's a lot of work there. There's a lot of the same details that are in the back of the school that are within the Rotary there, so there's some work there. We're putting the permanent concrete in the bus loop, so the asphalt that's there now comes out, concrete goes in.
Rathman-Willard.
And then Rathman-Willard gets, it's a little bit of grading done to it, but that paving all gets ripped up, and there's a final coat of paving that goes down Rathman-Willard. So the intent is when the students come back and staff come back for school, everything's got a fresh coat of final paving all over it. And then we'll be continuing on with the fields and the parking over on the side here.
in the tennis courts. That
So as
was
we've said
in
before, there will
progress.
be a beehive of activity between the 15th of June and the 30th of August approximately. And we will hopefully have something for our next meeting where we can give people a
Yep.
better idea of the dates and the aspects of the project that will go forward. We were thinking that not only putting it out to the 10 or 15 people who watch this meeting, but also perhaps giving it to the Sun Chronicle as a way of getting the word out to the public that you probably don't want to drive on Rathbun Willard Drive in July or August if you don't have to.
Yeah, and we are finalizing it internally, and then we wanted to meet with the police chief, fire, and Mike Tyler to make sure they're on board with it as well before we publicize anything.
And I think that's wise, A, to involve them, but B, we don't want to tell the public something and then have to change it. We want to give it to them once, right? So, good question, Scott.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, our next meeting will be March 15th, 5:30 here. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Aye, opposed? We adjourned at 6:46. Thanks, everyone.